Hello, air signs, and welcome into your reading for the second half of April. Today, I'll be taking a look at what all is in store for you energetically in terms of your job and career, love and relationships, and life path and mission. So I'll do some general cards for all of the air signs, and then I'll be going through each of the individual zodiac signs, pulling some additional tarot cards and oracle cards to see what all messages want to come through for our air signs for the second half of April. So a couple of things. First, I'll start with the crystal deck, and this will be just a one single pull to see if there's any specific crystals that you're being guided to work with for the second half of the month. There's going to be a lot of energy going on. The first half of the month, actually the last, call it 3 weeks, have been very, very energetic with the lunar eclipse. Then we had Mercury Retrograde start, and then we had our big solar eclipse. So there's been just a lot of energy out there. So we'll talk about what that means for the second half of this month. But let's see. We have our pink spirit gold, limonite. It's about transmutation, devotion, and divine feminine. So the second half of the month is going to be a lot of transformative energy. And some of that is going to be due to the fact that we've had all these big energies, especially the solar eclipse. So that was really kind of helping you to see what areas of your life needed to get some focus in terms of being in alignment. And Mercury retrograde always is pushing you to look at what needs to be addressed. So Mercury retrograde is going on until the 25th, and then it'll go direct, and then we'll be in the shadow period until May 13th. And this is in Aries. So watch for, kind of like fighting and irritability and things like that, because it's bringing up things that really need to be addressed. But it's also about, that transmutation. How do you transmute those heavy energies into something more positive, into, higher vibration experiences? And a lot of that is done with this divine feminine energy, this loving, caring, nurturing energy. How do you acknowledge and see what comes up, and then use love to transform it, instead of that kind of irritable, I'm fighting for my position type of feel. So let's put this over here. We'll kind of leave that over to the side as we go about the rest of the reading. So I'll be talking about different things as I go through the beginning parts of this reading. So we already talked about Mercury in retrograde. Then on April 19th, the sun enters Taurus, and that's going to be a lot of this energy of wanting to be grounded and working on improving stability and security for yourself, and kind of connecting with your values. It's a very 3D energy in terms of, what's happening in your 3D life. How do you get more stability there? So that's going to be on the 19th. All right, let's take a look at job and careers first. All right, in the recent past, we have our Knight of Pentacles energy currently sitting in the star in reverse, with our next level of energy being Page of Wands that's coming in. So as we look at it in the recent past from a job perspective, that Knight of Pentacles in reverse is kind of this like irresponsible or lazy energy at work, kind of this dull energy, stuck in the doldrums is kind of the message that's coming through. And so it's left you currently feeling like this sort of distrust, or like uninspired, and you need to be focusing more on your gifts in terms of how that plays out from a work perspective. But you're just kind of feeling uninspired, like you don't have a whole lot of hope or enthusiasm for the future necessarily. It's just like, it's the job. And then the next level of energy coming in is this Page of Wands. So there's a little bit of like excitement and optimism that's coming in the future. So there could be some good changes on the horizon for you. So we'll look at that sign grouping by sign grouping. A few of the other things that are happening in the second half of the month. On the 20th, we have Jupiter conjunct Uranus, and that is going to be a huge transit for this year. So it has a lot of energy of being like extra innovative and independent and brave. So that could be tying in. We'll see sign grouping by sign grouping, but it could be tying in from a job perspective that maybe you're just feeling more innovative, like you're tired of being in the doldrums, the ho-hum of work, and what can you do differently, either within your current job, or it might be a matter of looking at a new job, looking at going in a new direction. We also do have on the 23rd, we have the Scorpio full moon. So that's a very intense and passionate energy. And it's going to be pushing you to address something serious that needs to be resolved in your life. So kind of on the heels of having the eclipse energy, which was, kind of that eye-opening, transformative, focusing on what do I need to do in my life. This is kind of that next push of, okay, you got to see what needs to be addressed in your life. And then the Scorpio full moon is pushing you to release what's keeping you from achieving those things that you realized you need to achieve. Because remember, the full moon is about closing out of cycles. So it's going to be about achieving what it is that you were seeing in terms of that clarity that was coming in the full moon. For our love and relationship line, I'll go ahead and pull the cards and also talk about, we have on the 29th, Venus enters Taurus, and that's going to be about improving stability and security within your relationship. So that's going to be of importance here as we look at the love and relationship line. So in the recent past, we've had the Nine of Cups energy. So there was a sense of contentment and achievement when it comes to relationships for you. But now you're sitting in this Five of Swords energy, which is kind of this like ambitious or dishonest, a little bit of this like ruthless energy that's coming through for you as it relates to relationships. And then the next energy coming through based on this ruthless energy is Judgment in reverse, which is that sense of doubt, or you're ignoring a chance and failing to learn from the past. And I always talk about, like on the channel, if you watch the daily readings, that the Judgment card, that's card number 20 in the major arcana, and that's almost at the very end. So there's only one more card. The World is that card of completion, attainment, fulfillment, recognition, like you triumphed over that lesson. So when you think about life here, this incarnation is all about learning lessons. The Judgment in reverse card, it's like you've taken the final exam, but you just didn't quite get all the concepts. So Judgment in reverse means that you haven't learned what it is that you're supposed to be learning. So as it relates to this relationship line, you thought that you kind of had it, like, okay, this is what is supposed to be, or you thought that you were happy in whatever that scenario was, but then now you're kind of sitting in a little bit of this, and we'll get some clarification. Actually, let's go ahead and get some clarification. What is this ruthless energy about in the love and relationship line? Empress energy and the Hierophant energy. So some major arcana here. The Empress energy is that divine, or that's that feminine, like nurturing energy, that flowing, abundant type of energy. And then the Hierophant it can either be like traditional structures, like marriage and things like that, or it can also be like mentor, guru, teacher, higher calling, like that sort of energy. So a little bit of ruthlessness related to that. So almost like if you have been trying to sit in this energy, like you thought that things were going in that direction, and maybe something came up that made you think that they weren't. So now it's almost more of this like ruthless approach of, no, it's going to get to this stage. And so you're almost like pushing it too fast or too hard. In dishonest is maybe not the right word, but and that's leading you to looping. So we'll look at that sign grouping by sign grouping and see what other specific messages are wanting to come through there. So I guess maybe this is one, the Hanged Man. So that is going to be, your self-imposed period of reflection and like pondering these changes. So it is also a sense of like rebirth, like you're seeing things from a different perspective, and how do you move yourself out of a situation that's not feeling like it should. So let's take a look as well. So one of the things on the 29th, we have, I think I'd mentioned this, Venus entering Taurus, which is about improving stability and security in your relationship. So if you hadn't been feeling that and you were trying to push for some sort of sense of stability and security, on the 29th, like at the end of this month, you're going to be feeling a little bit more energy in that direction. So something, and we'll look at this, like I said, grouping by grouping or individual sign by individual sign, but either the energy is coming in from the universe, pushing things in that direction to give you that, or you're going to be feeling that restlessness of, okay, I need to get some sort of stability and security within this relationship. All right. And then the very next day on the 30th, we have Mars entering Aries, and that's going to put Mars in its home sign, which means that there's going to be extra strong energy with that transit. And that's going to have this energy of being excited about new beginnings, like take the initiative for what it is that you want and make things happen. So down here, this is our life path and mission line. So in the recent past, you've been feeling some frustrations, like there's these delays and you just want whatever this cycle is to end. So remember, in terms of with your life path, it's not that you just have one mission, one goal for your entire life. Like, you know, if you think about your life as a play, for example, there's going to be multiple acts. Usually there's at least 2, sometimes 3 acts. So you might have different goals and missions and paths that you follow in each of those areas of life. So when there's a change, it's not necessarily that you failed or that you were on the wrong path before. It's that sometimes you need to go on this path to get you here so that you can go in this direction, because if you hadn't gone off this way, over here doesn't make sense for you. So it's kind of this sense of frustration of, okay, I'm done with this part of my life. I'm done with this this phase, this cycle, but like you're looking for some sort of closure to that cycle. But at the same time, with the Tower in reverse, it's like you're trying to avoid a change. It's like you're delaying the inevitable because you have this fear of letting go, because there's almost that sense of, well, if I'm letting go, does that mean, like I said, that, oh, well, I failed? And like I said, it's not a matter of, you failed or that you made the wrong choice by believing that a certain thing was your path in the first, like in, whatever phase of your life. It's that, sometimes you have different paths that come up at different points in your development, in your ascension, for a reason. Because remember, certain messages can't come through to you until you're ready to actually hear them. So you do have to go through certain experiences, because if you would have gotten that experience earlier in your life, you wouldn't have understood it. It wouldn't have made sense. You wouldn't have learned what you needed to learn. So, and I've used this example a number of times if you watch the channel. So it is kind of futile to try to keep the Tower from coming down, because this is one of the decks I use a lot. So look at her. She's in this Jello mold. And in the reverse, think about how futile it is to try to hold an inverted Jello mold. It's coming down. So there's really, there's not really a purpose to resisting it and trying to continue to prop this up, because it's going to come down. So that's kind of this energy right now of, there's this major transformation that wants to happen in your life in terms of your life path and mission. And so you need to be able to let that go. And, once you do, this high priestess energy is going to come in. And this is that divine feminine, higher consciousness, that inner wisdom. And if you can stand back and say, what is this lesson? Maybe this tower has to fall in order to complete this lesson. Then, you'll be sitting in a much more peaceful, I'll call it enlightened state, because it is that divine feminine energy coming in, which is what we had up here with your overall energy, with this transmutation. How do you transmute this feeling of, oh, it's a failure? Why are there all these delays? how do you transmute that into seeing the lesson, acknowledging the lesson, and then moving forward? So that was the overall energy for the air signs. And now I'll go sign grouping by sign grouping. And let's see what additional messages are coming through. And we will start today with Gemini and see what does Gemini need to know for the second half of April. Let's pull some cards here. So first we'll take a look at our jobs and careers, the Devil in reverse, and we have our King of Wands. So our King of Wands energy is going to be that that sense of meeting different challenges, and there's this very loyal type of energy, but it's also about breaking free from what is keeping you from your life path. So this is a sense of empowerment and independence, and if you've been feeling uninspired by your job, it's breaking free from those types of shackles. So whether it's that you're uninspired because you don't like the philosophy of what's happening at work, maybe there's some things that you just fundamentally don't agree with. It could be also that sense of laziness that was coming through with the Knight of Pentacles in reverse. If you've been sitting in that energy, breaking free from that, like laziness and procrastination and things like that, that is some of that devil energy. That's keeping you from living your highest good, your best life. So you're breaking free from that and meeting those challenges of saying, okay, I need to do something different in my professional life in order to bring in some of that higher level energy, some of those blessings. Like, so for some of you, it could be transforming the energy within your existing job, or you might be in a position where you're saying, you know what, this whole scenario just doesn't serve my highest good anymore. So I'm going to be done with that. So that was the energy with jobs and careers. Now let's take a look at love and relationships for Gemini and see what messages want to come through for you with that. The Hierophant in reverse and Temperance. So it's interesting. So overall energy, we have the Hierophant in the upright. For Gemini specifically, though, the Hierophant in reverse, that is about kind of breaking the rules and getting that freedom. But it's also about balance and being patient and kind of finding that harmony and that, just that sense of like peace and balance within the relationship. So let's take a look, though. Let's pull a couple more cards because it looks like there's been some ruthlessness there, and pushing it into, hey, you're missing learning the lesson. So what is the lesson that needs to be learned in order to close out this cycle? What other information can we get, please, about that lesson? The Magician. So that's about how do you transmute, so transmutation here, how do you transmute those heavier energies? And so some of that can be, I'll call it those lower level energies, those lower vibration energies, the things like the anger, the jealousy, the fear, the doubts, like all of those. How do you transmute those and bring in this divine feminine energy, this loving, nurturing energy, but in a balanced way? So not throwing the loving, nurturing at it because, oh my gosh, I'm so afraid to lose this person, but how do you really step back and transmute that and put it into a loving, more of a loving, but also the feminine, the divine feminine, a balanced, healed divine feminine is that receiving energy as well. So it's, knowing your worth and kind of standing up for it to say, you know what, I have that unconditional love and this feeling of abundance, but I'm not going to tolerate, or, I'm not going to allow low vibe energy to disrupt my field. I'm going to sit in high vibe energy and kind of insist that the people around me, sit in that energy as well. So let's see timing, and this is the timing deck. So let's see timing wise, when does it look like this energy balances out? Oop. All right, this one flipped. Fall. So it looks like, in terms of that transmuting of the energy, it looks like fall time. And I mean, technically, I guess August is still part of the summer, but I feel like growing up, August was the beginning of fall. But that would be kind of consistent with like the 8, or that looks like the 8 here. And actually, I think this image is the same one that's on the strength card, if I remember right, because for whatever reason, at quick glance, I saw that as the strength card, which is number 8 in the major arcana. But also temperance, for those of you on a twin flame journey, that's Archangel Michael is the temperance card. So that is, he's the keeper of the twin flames, like working on trying to help move things around to protect you and move you forward on your path. The card that just jumped as I was shuffling, still talking about this, was the Queen of Swords in reverse. So this is a little bit of, there's some criticism there, but it's also about cutting through, Queen of Swords, she's like cutting away all of the BS, all of the nonsense. So from a divine feminine perspective, because we have divine feminine coming up, there is that sense of, you know what? No, I know my worth. I know what I should be receiving. And, a little bit of that, I mean, in the reverse, sometimes it kind of has more of the negative connotation, but it's almost more like, no, I know what I should be getting, and I'm not going to tolerate breadcrumbs for the sake of keeping peace. So there's a little bit of and that maybe is the lesson here, is if you had been sitting in this 9 of Cups energy because you were doing all of the work and you were, trying to convince yourself that breadcrumbs was okay, then it pushes you, then that's why you're currently in this 5 of Swords energy, which is a little bit of this like ruthless, wait a second, hold on, I should be getting more than that. But you have to balance that. Otherwise you're going to keep looping. Like, don't let yourself get too down. It's kind of the whole thing of, don't let yourself get too high. Don't let yourself get too low. All right, let's take a look at life path and mission for Gemini. We have our 2 of Pentacles in reverse, and then we have the Fool in reverse. So there's a little bit of this energy, with our 2 of Pentacles in reverse. It's like you're kind of a little unorganized, like you have too many balls in the air. So it's almost like, I mean, in this one, yes, there's 2 pentacles, but it's like there's more than 2 for you. You're trying to decide which direction do you want to go. Are you being drawn in this direction, this direction, this direction, this one? And so you have a little bit of that sense of like fear of the unknown, like you're not ready to move forward because there's too many things that you're trying to figure out. Do I go this way? Do I go that way? What am I being really called to do? If I don't know what I'm being called to do, or I don't feel like it's available to me right now, do I just focus somewhere else and work on something else and hope that this comes together? So it's kind of that unorganized feeling. And like it really comes across that that's what's propping up this inverted tower here. Like you're resisting letting this change come in because you don't know what the next step looks like, because there's too many options. Like, you don't have enough of a solid base to say, okay, well, this part is totally solid, so I'm going in this direction. Like right here, it looks like there's some ups and downs and maybe some unknowns when it comes to the relationship line. Some possible career changes coming up, so it's like, oh my gosh, there's too many things. I don't know what to focus on. Do I focus down here and hope that will push this and this into a different line? So actually, before we do this, let's pull a timing card. When does it look like Geminis will get some clarity on what direction they're being called, like for their life path and mission? When you stop focusing on it. So sometimes, kind of that whole watched pot never boils. So sometimes when you spend too much time focusing on where am I going? What am I doing? How am I going to get there? It just makes your mind go nuts. So let's maybe look at focusing on other areas of your life, and then this will become more clear. So stop putting so much energy into trying to hold this inverted tower up and thinking about that. All right. Message from Gaia here. Sacred Heart. Actually, that's the exact same as the back. Passion, love, and spiritual communion. So it's really about, find what you're passionate about, but don't try to force it. What you're passionate about is naturally going to come out of you, and that will help guide you, and it'll also help increase your vibration when you're focusing on what it is that you're passionate about, and that in and of itself will help move you in a good direction. All right. And then we have free yourself. It's time to take back control of your life. And engagement. Your love life is ascending to a higher level of commitment. So some of this is a matter of if you feel like when it says take back control of your life, it's kind of this like double play here with control. So if you're trying to control somebody else because you think that's going to help direct you towards something, freeing yourself is putting that control back in your hands. Like what is making you feel passionate? What is making you feel like you're fulfilled? And again, maybe taking some of the focus, this when you stop focusing on it, maybe taking some of the focus off of this line, because if you try to control a situation too much, it can harm it. So put your faith in, Archangel Michael, and just have that sense of things are going in the direction that they're supposed to be going in. And then listen to your anger. It's trying to protect you is what flipped. And that could be maybe up there. Okay, let's pull another one of these cards and see what is coming up here. We have right path, wrong approach. So I would say this is falling here, that, you're on the right path because your love life is ascending, but it's the wrong approach. So if you're trying to, like the Five of Swords definitely has that energy of, I want to be in control of it. See, I'm hoarding all of these swords, and then the other person just like, yeah, whatever. So if you're working, or like if you're trying to hoard control and power within the relationship, trying to direct it like this, trying to make it happen like this, you're missing the point of the lesson, and you're going to loop through it again. If you can let go of that energy, then, for one, you're freeing yourself from this like spinning your wheels type of energy. But that's also the lesson that you need to learn, is to let go of some of that. And that's actually going to bring in higher levels of commitment and higher levels of engagement from a love life perspective. So that is the message for Gemini. I will also be doing a twin flame reading in the next couple of days after I finish up with the readings for the second half of the month. So make sure you hit the subscribe and notification bell if you want to be alerted as to when the new videos are posting. Otherwise, Gemini, I wish you peace and joy in the second half of the month. All right. So that was our message for Gemini. And next we are on to Libra. So let's take a look at what messages want to come through for Libra for the second half of the month. All right. And one of the things too, so, we don't have any more retrogrades that are happening this month, but at the very beginning of May, we do have Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. And so that's going to be some slowing down of some of this intense energy. So if the second half of the month feels very intense for you, there will be some energetic reprieve in the first half of May. So just to let you know. All right. We have the Empress in reverse, and then we have the Ace of Wands. So for jobs and careers for Libra, the Empress in reverse is kind of like you have this sense of blocked creativity, like you're feeling like you're unappreciated. yeah, just kind of feeling unappreciated at work, and that there's kind of like a dependence, like a clinginess or whatever with it. But then you have the Ace of Wands coming in, which is going to be this excitement and kind of some creativity and new beginnings. So that actually goes with this Page of Wands energy. So there's going to be some excitement coming in. So it looks like there's going to be some changes. Let's get one more clarifying card. Is there any indication whether this excitement is with the current job or a new opportunity? So let's pull one more card and see if that's any help to that question. Ten of Swords. So the Ten of Swords, that is definitely this like defeat, betrayal, exhaustion. I do like it in this deck that they don't actually have the swords like stabbing the dog. In the Rider-Waite deck, it's a person laying there with like 10 swords in their back. So thank you for not doing that to the little doggy. But this would suggest that it's going to be a new job, a new opportunity, a new direction. So whether it's within the same field that you're in right now, but just a different company, or maybe something totally different. But it's kind of like this is that last straw. Done with that. Let's have something new that's going to come in and replace it in a better way. So Libra, it looks like there might be a change on the horizon. And that would be, that's going to be consistent. That Scorpio full moon that's on the 23rd. Oh my gosh. With that intense and passionate energy where it's pushing you to address something serious that needs to be resolved. This is kind of like the ultimate, oh my gosh, like serious situation. And so keep an eye out, like maybe, look for that towards the end of the month, or I guess, midway through this period that we're looking at, because that's the 23rd, that Scorpio full moon. It's closing out cycles. So close out this cycle of feeling uninspired and just, defeated at work. All right, now let's take a look at love and relationships for Libra. We've got the High Priestess in reverse. Okay, I was trying to remember if the High Priestess in reverse was already there, but it's down there. And then we have Justice in reverse. So our High Priestess in reverse there's a sense of like uncertainty and secrets. And then your Justice in reverse is going to be energetically, that's kind of about like this imbalance that's going on. Yeah, that is Justice in reverse. And 8. I feel like that is mislabeled in terms of the numbers, because the Justice card is 11. That's interesting. I had never noticed that before. So in this deck, and I don't know what that means, but in a traditional tarot deck, because normally number 8 is the Strength card in a traditional tarot deck. So with this one being mislabeled, Justice is normally 11. So for what it's worth, that's a little bit odd. So 8, it has to do with obstacles, and so it could be that there's some meaning behind that that this was mislabeled. But with the Justice in reverse card, that is you're avoiding some responsibilities, and there's been broken promises, and it has a sense of like dishonesty and abuse of power. So I think of it like with the Justice in reverse card, if there's power struggles and power dynamics within your relationship, that's what this card is about. And especially Libra looks for balance and looks for in relationships in particular. So it's a matter of how do you transform those imbalances, because there's the sense of just like doubt and feeling like there's secrets. So with this, there's a lesson that needs to be learned that's not being learned. So when we look at like the Empress, that's pushing you to sit in this loving, divine, like nurturing type of energy, but there's all of this injustice. And so it's a matter of how do you transmute that energy. And the sense of devotion is kind of like not blind devotion to a partner who's not treating you well, but devotion to yourself. So that's a lot of that divine feminine energy is going to be not only loving other people, but loving yourself. So that part is really, really key is, divine feminine, a balanced, healed divine feminine also does not accept breadcrumbing energy. Divine feminine knows their worth and will insist upon that. And so there is kind of this sense of, I may have accepted some breadcrumbing in the past and thought, oh, that's great, it's moving in a good direction, but then something happened that triggers it, and this could be the eclipse energy that triggered it to give that clarity of, wait a second, is this really balanced in the way that I want it to be? Because this character is hoarding those swords, and it's like, oh, it's all about me. So there is definitely a sense of needing to bring some balance. And let's see from a timing perspective, when does it look like that balance might be coming for Libra? When you're ready. So some of it too, with judgment in reverse, that means there's a cycle that's continuing to loop because you haven't learned that lesson and integrated it. So remember, there's a difference in acknowledging what the lesson is and actually integrating it into your life, into your being, into how you are going about this life. So if you're not ready to integrate it, you're going to keep looping. You're going to continue to feel this sense of things being out of whack and out of balance because you haven't fully stepped into that divine feminine energy yet of saying, I know what I'm worth, because divine feminine is a receiving energy as well. So yes, there's that pouring out, or there's that unconditional love and nurturing and support, but it's also that that energy of inspiring, maybe, or motivating or encouraging, or to some extent demanding that your partner sits in their healed energy. Because, otherwise divine feminine is not, a healed divine feminine is not accepting, breadcrumbing energy. They're not accepting, deceit and lies and all of that. So when you're ready to empower, or to be empowered and sit in that energy, some of these lessons will resolve and your transformation will happen. All right, let's take a look at life path and mission for Libra. The moon in reverse and the lovers in reverse. So, wow, for Libra, this is a big pivotal time for you because all 5 of these cards are major arcana cards. So that means that this is a big, I'll call it like milestone time for you in terms of finding your path, finding your mission. So the moon in reverse is going to be this sense of like confusion and also some self-delusion. Like you don't, and the self-delusion I'm going to say is going with this tower in reverse. Like something needs to happen and you keep telling yourself, well, maybe if I wait a little bit longer, maybe if I try a little bit harder, but this tower is going to come down, whether it comes down, today, tomorrow, or next week, that it's coming down. So avoiding it and trying to keep propping it up doesn't really serve any purpose. You're kind of delaying the inevitable there, but there's a sense of self-delusion that goes with it that, well, maybe if I just try a little bit more, that it might change. But, with all these being major arcana cards, this is kind of this like destined and fated transition for you. And then you also have the lovers in reverse, which has to do with imbalances and some like distrust and disharmony. So remember the lovers card, not only is that about romantic relationships, but it also has a lot to do with divine connections. It's this is Gemini. It's because it's card number 6 in the major arcana, and it's the twins. So it has to do a lot with communication and about decisions in your life. And so with it being in reverse, it's kind of, again, like not feeling ready to make those decisions because you're still trying to prop up something that's old that needs to go. So it's like the party's over, but you don't want to go home yet. So let's pull a timing card and see, when does it look like Libra is going to have this clarity that the tower needs to fall, and like, when is this tower going to, well, I guess those are two different things. So first one, let's take a look at when is Libra going to get this sense of clarity? It says by the next full moon, which the next full moon is on the 23rd. That is the Scorpio full moon. And then what about this tower? When does it look like this tower moment might be coming in for Scorpio? Or not Scorpio, sorry, Libra. More than a year out. So it looks like you're still trying to prop this up. Like you're having the clarity that it needs to happen, but it looks like you're still not letting it happen. So let's pull one more card and see what is, once you have the clarity, what is preventing you from changing your life path that you feel trapped. So 8 of Swords is about feeling trapped. So whatever your situation is, you feel like you're propping up this path because you're trapped on it. So you'll get the clarity soon, but it's going to take you a while to change direction because of this feeling of being trapped. Oh, this one is sitting out there. But one of the things to note, with that card, you may feel trapped, but you're not really as trapped as you think you are. There's a sense of feeling trapped because you're blindfolded, you're tied up, so you can't necessarily see things as clearly as you would like because you're blindfolded. So you can't see things as clearly as you would like. But look, the swords are mostly behind. But because you know that there are swords and you can't see them clearly for what they are or where they are, you have that feeling of being trapped. All right, so your Gaia card was rising above. Clarity, freedom, and solution. So this is going down here. So you're going to be getting that clarity soon. And, how do you break free from feeling trapped? You have to figure out what that solution is. Some of that solution could be coming, make sure you're working on being grounded. Make sure you're working on, your meditation and asking your spirit guides for help on how do you transform that. All right, let's take a look at a romance oracle card for you. You deserve love. You are lovable. So that's also going with that divine feminine energy of you are worthy of love, and make sure that you're really telling yourself that, because if your situation doesn't feel like love, then you either need to help transmute that and have some serious conversations, or take yourself out of it. But you deserve love and you are lovable, so make sure that you're being true to yourself. And here we have, if not now, when? So some of it, with this saying that it's more than a year out because you're feeling trapped, and these could be kind of going together, that you feel trapped because your path is intertwined with another person that feels like it's out of balance. And I love that if not now, when? Because it's kind of that whole thing of like, what are you waiting for? There's never if you're in a serious commitment, there's never a good time to break up with somebody or go a different direction. So if you keep making excuses for, but now's not a good time, I should wait until then. And especially with this tower that you're propping up, I can't make this change now because of this. I can't make this change now because of that. You're really just making excuses because you're scared. So sometimes for a short period of time, there may be very practical reasons. I can't do this right now, but you need to make the plan for when am I going to do it? Because otherwise it's just really, usually it's fear that says, I can't do this now. I need to wait till the timing is right. Generally what that means is you're scared and you're not ready to make that change. So that is the message for Libra. I hope that this has been helpful for you, and I will be doing some additional readings. I'll have a pick a pile and a twin flame reading. I did do a message from your person recently, so if you are interested in being alerted when those new videos post, make sure you hit the subscribe and notification bell. Otherwise, I wish you peace and joy in the second half of April. All right, now we are on to Aquarius. So Aquarius, let's see what all messages are in store for you for the second half of the month. All right, and we'll start with our job and career for Aquarius. We have our Nine of Swords in reverse, and then we have our Ten of Wands in reverse. So Nine of Swords in reverse is you're seeking help. You've been feeling unmotivated. You're seeking help, and because there's this lack of delegation. So the Ten of Wands is about being like really overburdened, and you're really struggling. And in reverse, it's kind of that breaking point. Like, when it's in the upright, you're still moving forwards even though you're struggling. And when it comes up in reverse, it's like, all right, now I'm I'm done. I have nothing left to give. But you are seeking help about it. And when you do seek help, then you're going to have some of this excitement. You're going to have some of this optimism once you seek that help. So let's see if there's any sort of where is this help coming in from? I don't know if we'll get much of a sense here from this deck, but let's pull one more card and see if we can get any further information about where is this help for you coming in from. The Ace of Cups. So the help is going to come in the form of like some sort of, love and creativity, because your cups is going to be your emotion. So there's going to be something that triggers that sense of creativity within you and love that kind of like lights you up to push you to go in a new direction. So for Aquarius, it looks like, as it relates to the job, this new excitement that's coming in, I think it's going to be something different than in your current job. So it's not just like, oh, here I have a new client to work on and now everything's better, or a new project to work on and now everything's better. I think it's a bigger change because there's just been so much burnout. But you are seeking help, maybe from other colleagues in the industry or something like that. But it looks like it's going to be a big shift, and it's going to pull more on your creativity. So if your job or career right now is really transactional and you don't have much creativity and inspiration that you can incorporate. So, and I don't want to offend anybody who's in like a very numbers heavy job, but maybe you feel like, okay, all I do is crunch numbers all day. There's nothing creative I can do with that. And it leaves you feeling kind of bleh. There's going to be some other way to use your talents to be able to incorporate something that you're more passionate about. All right, let's take a look at love and relationships and see what additional messages are coming through. We have the Hermit in reverse, and we have the Chariot. So this is a lot of major arcana energy, because we have the Empress, we have the Hierophant, the Hanged Man, the Hermit in reverse, and the Chariot. So the Chariot is going to be that fast-moving energy about like, how do you overcome some of these obstacles? But this is a little bit concerning. I don't know if that's the right word, but I think before you get to this point, there's going to be this sense of just reclusiveness, because the Hermit in reverse is really withdrawing from your loved ones. And it's kind of this sense of being like in exile, because normally the Hermit is, you kind of go on this, self-discovery, this deep introspection. You might be kind of antisocial while you're figuring things out, but then you're going to be lighting the way for other people. So it has this, I'll call it this optimism and this transformative joy to it that's kind of built in when the Hermit is in the upright. Little doggy is shining the lantern for everybody else. But in the reverse, it's almost like this sense of, I've been banished, I've been exiled, I'm totally out on my own now. So there's more of like a sense of sadness to it. And, through that, though, there's going to be some additional energy of, okay, how do I tap into this flowing, loving energy? Sometimes it takes being totally I'll call it exiled and away from the situation to see it for what it is, because you thought that things were maybe a little bit happier, but then, with these cards right here, things things weren't actually as they seemed, and it was pushing you into a bad place. So sometimes being totally on your own gives you an opportunity to look at it a little bit differently. And then I think once you see the situation more clearly, once you're out of that energy field, then there's going to be some, fast moving progress that's, that's breaking you out and going into a different direction. But let's see, timing wise, when does it look like Aquarius is going to break out of this heavy, I'll call it kind of sadder energy as it relates to this relationship, once you fully surrender to the divine? So once you realize or acknowledge and really embody the fact that, you're on these paths for a certain reason, and there's divine timing and planning that goes into all of this, you'll be able to move through this with less attachment to the 3D and what that looks like. So let's take a look then at life path and mission. We have the five of swords in reverse, so the opposite there, and then we have our King of Swords in reverse. So there's kind of some coldness here that's going with this life path and mission feeling, and then there's also this like resolution and compromise. So I think in order to let this tower fall the way it's supposed to be falling, I think you do need to have a little bit of that coldness. And cruelty isn't necessarily the right word. Like sometimes it's like that, but instead of sitting in that King of Swords, like, oh, I'm the authority here, I'm the rational one. It's almost kind of like, let yourself just be cold and detached and let this do what it needs to do, so that way you can find resolution and you can bring peace to the situation. Because the High Priestess, that next level of energy that's trying to come in, is that inner wisdom. Like, that you need to be on a different path. And so sometimes, as opposed to trying to prop the situation up with, love, or I don't know if that's really the right word for it, but instead of trying to continue to prop the situation up, it almost could come across to other people as, a sense of cruelty or weakness, like, oh, you're just not strong enough to keep propping up whatever this path is that you're on. But really what it is that's the solution to get you back on the path that you should be on. So remember, like, North Node is in Aries right now, which is about you being unapologetically you and standing in your truth. And if the path that you're on right now is not your truth, other people may say, oh, well, they just gave up, they weren't, I can't believe they just gave up on this. But if it's not truly what's in your heart, you shouldn't keep feeding energy into a situation that's not meant for you. Perception, beyond the veil of illusion. And so I think that goes along here, that if there's this scenario that this life path that you're on, it could be an illusion. Other people, to the outside world, they may think, oh, this is great, this is wonderful, but the truth, beyond what other people see. And so that's why I said, other people may think that you're acting like this King of Swords in reverse, this kind of like, cruel energy or like weak energy of, oh, they just let this situation crumble. But deep down what the reality of the situation is. And if it's not meant for you, the solution to it is let it go. All right. So from our Romance Oracle deck, apparently I pulled both of them at the same time. So it's calling in your soulmate and retreat. So it's time to disconnect from the world, and then your prayers, affirmations, and visualizations help bring you together. So this time to disconnect from the world is kind of this Hermit in reverse. So it's this sense of exile. But remember, if this is not the path that you're supposed to be on, sometimes you need to get away, because if you're still energetically connected somewhere you're not supposed to be, that could be what's keeping your happiness from coming in, what's keeping your soulmate from coming in. So remember, when you're visualizing and manifesting, one of the important things, I'd heard this from another reader, and I really liked it, is if you're trying to manifest in, a soulmate or a better job, if you're really specific in what you're manifesting, make sure that you say, I want to manifest it in, like, if it's on a job, for example, I want to manifest in this job at, XYZ company because it's inspiring me. So I want to manifest in this job or something better. And the same thing, as you're manifesting and you're working on that, like this person or better, I want to manifest in somebody who treats me with love and respect or someone better, because the universe may have this perfect soulmate that's like waiting to come in, but you don't even know, so don't set yourself too short by putting limits on what you're manifesting. So a new door is opening shortly. So it kind of, like I said, with this part, that sometimes you need to be away, like energetically disconnected from a situation to be able to see it more clearly. And then I think a new door could be opening shortly for you. And also from a job perspective, that a new door, looks like it's opening shortly for you on the job side of things. So that's the message for Aquarius. I hope that you found this to be helpful, but as always, take only what resonates and leave the rest. I will be doing a twin flame reading as soon as I finish up the rest of the reads for the second half of the month. So definitely check that out if that is applicable to you. And if you wanted to be alerted as to when those videos post, make sure that you hit the subscribe and notification bell. Otherwise, I wish you peace and joy in the second half of April.